everybody.
Good evening.
Man, I started to say it was Friday night.
It's Friday night on Wednesday.
It is Friday night on Wednesday.
The Nightbot got on.
Did Nightbot, whose Nightbot did he go after already?
Nightbot
Freddie.
got me for using too many caps. And I don't know how I feel about that.
My golly.
How hard is it?
That Nightbot.
Nightbot.
I don't know. Have you done it?
No, but it's there.
Oh, man. So how's everybody doing tonight?
Hanging in there, man. It's been like a day. Gee whiz. Jeff, you work today?
Yeah, I did. Another fun day of working.
I won't go into details.
As much as I would like to go into details just to tell you about the crazy BS, I'm not going to. So
yeah, it's a rant in its own, isn't it?
yeah, you know what? If you're gonna have our clients do what they've been doing, which is completely incorrect, and I told them it's incorrect, I am not being part of it. So had to make sure that was known that I am not being part of this because it's being done wrong, as I warned them last few months ago, but they want to continue. So
plausible deniability.
Yep.
It's a wonderful thing.
That is never fun.
Fun times.
I recently discovered Blue Moon Belgian White. Probably shouldn't be advertising. I don't know. But you know,
it's not a bad beer.
It's a nice casual beer and it's really good. I like it.
Freddie, just because this is the kids' table doesn't mean that we can't drink.
We be drinking at the kids' table.
We be drinking. I'll tell you what.
If I was still drinking, I'd be having beer all around me. I've had the Blue Moon before. It's pretty good. I wasn't a big fan of it, but it wasn't bad.
Well, I think all I've had is the Belgian White, to my recollection, and
I think that's the common beer. They're the most popular one.
They're like their signature beer.
Yeah.
Which one do you have there?
Belgian White.
Okay, so that's just the regular Blue Moon.
Yeah, I'm sure there's others.
Weifenheiser or something like that.
And we're using them big words, man.
It's the beer. I tell you what, I'm not a beer expert by any stretch of the imagination. I pull the tab back and I drink it, and that's.
I've been drinking a lot of Sam Adams all this winter because they came out with that Oktoberfest. That was a pretty good beer. It had a really good taste to it. It was finished well, but you know, it just seems like a lot of Sam Adams came with a lot of carbonation. And not that I don't want it flat by any stretch of the imagination, but it was just, you know, it was a process to drink it.
Yeah,
but it tastes good. Yeah. This seems a lot smoother, easier to deal with.
There's a burning question in the chat for you.
Okay.
Do you put an orange slice in your
No. You know, and I'm curious to try that just to see if it makes a difference. I don't know if I'm supposed to like drink the beer and you know, munch down on the orange like you would a lime after taking a shot of tequila. Or are you supposed to squeeze the juice into the beer, or just leave it there? I don't understand.
There you go. Nate's got the word I was thinking about. I see. Sometimes I have a hard enough time with English.
Farfigschnugen.
Farfigschnugen.
Give me some of that Farfigschnugen.
Yeah. Hey, Mike's in the chat. I see Mike out there. How'd he do, Mike?
Mike's in the chat, but he's not in the stream. And I
maybe he lost the link.
Probably did. Yeah, I'm sure we'll hear something. So.
There we go.
You know what? And actually, I'm not a big fan of Budweiser products, but Shock Top is Budweiser's Belgian White, and it's not bad too. It's another good one. I like that. If I'm gonna have like pizza or something, I'll like get a Blue Moon or a Shock Top, either way.
Good beer, go for the good piece of pizza. For real. Good slice.
Shiner was pretty good. I miss Shiner.
You know what? I used to like Shiner, and I had one the other day, and it just, I don't know, it just didn't taste like it used to. I guess, and I may have got a different flavor. Everything's got a different flavor
It's the
now.
beard.
You know,
It,
back in the 70s and 80s, it was just beer.
speaking of which, I've tried to explain this to people. You guys are old enough probably to remember. Uh, so here in Indiana, we had Kroger. And I'm thinking 1970s, 80s, right? The
Yeah,
generic beer. All their generics were yellow packages, and it just literally said in black letters, beer. That was their generic. And I remember that as a kid, and I used to look at people funny because people would drink that stuff. So I guess it couldn't have been that bad.
yeah, they bought it like crazy, and I think mainly because it was cheap.
God, Mike says he's
It was always
well,
cheaper.
and the kids nowadays. I mean, they're drinking the Natty Lights and stuff like that. And
Our generic beer was a solid white can with black stencil military looking lettering that said
so
beer.
that's exactly like
And
Kroger's was,
very-
except for theirs was a yellow can.
Yeah.
So it was probably manufactured by the same same
I'm sure
brewery
it
or something. They just different colors for different stores. So,
Yep.
well, Alan was supposed to be here tonight, and I got a text message from him. Apparently, he got held up by TSA. I I
He's trying to sneak
I
it
guess.
an HF
He
race.
got caught for moaning.
So I did kind of
Mm.
in advertising the stream tonight. I did kind of poke the bear with how to navigate around TSA, and I don't know if they picked up on that and maybe we're a little offended. I don't know, but he said he would try to get here as fast as he could. So Cooley. There we go.
Cooley's in
Cooley
the
is
chat.
talking
I-
Billy
Cooley,
Beer.
Yep,
Billy Beer.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Billy Beer.
I remember that.
I've seen those, but I don't think I've ever had
I
one.
never had one.
I've
I don't think
I've
I
never
did.
had one either, but obviously beer can collections were big
Yeah.
in the 70s and
yeah.
80s. And I remember some older kids, maybe 4 or 5 years older than me, going down there, and they would already have an extensive beer can collection at 15. But I
knew
remember
people that
Billy
were
Beer was-
alcoholics
Children.
at 16, 15, 16. They're recovering alcoholics at that age.
Oh, wow.
That ain't no joke.
I remember going to
Did y'all
people's
ever?
houses and remember seeing beer cans on the I-beams of their basement.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Did y'all have a not generic, but I'm going to call it a lower priced beer called Schaefer?
Mm.
Because I think that was like everywhere.
The bar
but it was like
that my band used to play at, our home bar. They had a sign outside with their name on it with the Schaefer logo above it.
Schaefer beer. It was the closest thing you could get to water, and it still actually be beer. But it was cheap, and teenagers could afford it. We had a guy. We had a guy in our local community. Unfortunately, he's no longer in this world, bless his heart. But we'd go find him on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and it's like, hey, buy some beers and whatever. And it's like, sure. We had to buy him a 40-ounce, and he would buy as much as beers we had money for, which that 40-ounce took half our budget.
My fault. It's not Schaefer. It was Schlitz.
Oh yeah, we had Schlitz. Yeah, Schlitz and Schaefer were like the same grade, pretty much. I bet you Schaefer was a little more water.
I
than
could
beer.
share this picture, I guess. If I could share my screen. I guess I could share my screen.
Press H.
Should be able to.
Well, I remember I tried this. It was kind of funky. Can you see that?
No.
All right. Well, I tried.
Mike says might be dating myself. Bring back Crazy Horse malt liquor. I remember that one too. I believe. Gee whiz. We had a little Colt 45 in our neighborhood too.
Now I need to get out of sharing.
What we used to when I was in the Navy, and I was down in Virginia going to school. I was I don't know, 18 going on 19 or something, and we would go out into the country and into a kind of a crossroads between four cornfields and drink Mickey's Big Mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey,
Yeah.
Big Mouth Mickey's,
There
Big
was-
Mouth Mickey's. I've seen some of
we
those.
we would somebody would go and stop at the liquor store, and pick up a bunch of
The
it.
real
Yeah,
beer.
but we I think the thing was the just the Big Mouths. You could slam the bottles down really quickly, and
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
just in case
That was
the
deal.
cops show up.
Yeah, it's weird because everything that about drinking, well, a lot of things about drinking always revolved around my old band, and because we the bass player when we first started used to bring like 2 6-packs of Mickey's to practice. Every practice he'd bring them. That's where I found out about them. Like I never heard of them. They weren't that bad from what I can remember, but so many stories.
Oh yeah,
alcohol
somebody we
related.
can't broadcast here.
Oh, the people that some of the people I knew who hang out, they used to drink Peels. We wrote a song about Peels. Took the lyrics right off the can. I can't remember what else. But college, they were drinking. There's like Natural Light, Natty Boh, Natural Bohemian. This was in the late '80s, early '90s.
Mm.
The one with the bulldog on it, was it Red Dog?
Red Dog, yeah.
Red Dog
You know,
beer, man. I ain't had one of those.
Somebody we
years.
know I just saw recently was wearing a Red Dog T-shirt.
No joke.
Yes.
They still make that?
I have no clue.
I don't know,
Man.
but they were wearing a red Dog
Looking
T-shirt.
for it.
I'm not going to tell you who it was, but his I think his initials were into MAK. But Chris, here's Chris throwing down the fighting words.
True beers from
You know,
Wisconsin. True beer
I,
is from
I
Golden,
do not
Colorado.
care where the beer is brewed as long as it tastes good.
I'm right there with you to tell
Like
you the
I
truth.
started,
You know,
like when I started, right before I stopped drinking, I was trying to drink a lot. Not trying to drink. I was drinking Japanese beers when I could.
that's intriguing.
And they just like
I
I
never had.
get like Kirin and Sapporo. Was it Sapporo? I can't remember. It's been too long. But I'd get them. I'd get Shiner. I forget what else I was getting. That was
If we had a
fancy.
big payday, which was rare, we'd get some Moosehead. We thought we was uptown if we was drinking Canadian beer.
We used to drink Labatt's.
Oh wow! Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
I got a Labatt's blue pint glass still from way back when. Probably from the band
That's a
days,
few
from
days
working
ago.
at the bar and all that stuff. We were able to get hold of them. Molson was pretty good. We went to the Molson factory in Montreal when I was there. I can't remember what else we liked from Canada. Molson and Labatt's, that's the only two I can remember. I don't care where it's brewed. I just like it if it tastes good.
I lived such a sheltered life. I didn't know Molson was a beer. I just thought Molson was a person.
just somebody on the clubhouse.
Yeah, well, when we were in Dayton, and I ran to the store to get a few beers, for the group, and I'm looking and shopping, and I see a 12-pack of Molson. I'm like, wait, that's what? They didn't name it after him, surely.
So,
I was in like Twilight Zone for a minute.
Do they not have Molson beer in Oklahoma, or is that
not in my part of the world, and we just, I don't go shopping for beer every day either, but I didn't know we sold Yingling
Yingling.
until we was probably when we went to More Expo last year. I bought a 12-pack of it there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was there. And then I get back to Oklahoma and I see it everywhere. So I guess I just probably wasn't looking for it.
You've lived a sheltered life there, Freddie. A sheltered
I do.
alcoholic life.
I got to look over the computer screen to see the world these days. Just to get out and get a little more exposure to the outdoors. The internet would go down. I'd probably catch up on everybody.
So it was a thing, the whole theme of Smokey and the Bandit was bringing the Coors beer east of the Mississippi. That was a real thing. Why?
That was a real thing. I remember my dad.
Why you could not do that? I don't know. And Coors was like the real big one that was always, because everybody around here would. I'm sorry, the adults around here, because I was truly a kid at the time. They would always get their hands on Coors, and it was a big thing. But I don't know. When I was old enough to drink, I tried Coors, and I'm like, this wasn't all that great. But
I wasn't too crazy about it.
What all the type of
Coors Light
didn't raise any eyebrows.
I had a friend from high school that liked Coors Light, and I was really like, yeah. Back then, when I was in high school and early college, I mean, I didn't care what the beer was. I just drank it because it was beer. But once you go out into the world, outside your area or region, you get the chance to try different things, and that's where I kind of got into. Not really into beer, but just seeing that there was different beers and different small breweries. Although we have some here in Delaware, it's like, I don't care. I never saw them at bars or anything. But you go out to like when I went to Austin, Texas, we discovered like Lone Star, Shiner. I don't even know if Celis is still around. They just came out, or they've been out for a little bit. This is like mid-90s. That's all we drank when we were in Texas was Texas beers.
Pearl. You ever had any Pearl beer?
I haven't heard of that.
Wasn't great. Yeah, it wasn't great. They had the like the old Coors bottles. What it kind of was in. It was like a small stubby bottle with a little bitty mouth on it. It's just like, why am I touching?
I went out to Vegas when I was working for the casino, 2010. And I went to this punk bar called something saloon. I can't remember the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue, and I have a T-shirt. I know. They had PBR, Pastor Blue Ribbon, in bottles.
Oh, no joke! In bottles.
I've never seen in bottles. We'd have the 1.1 pound cans or whatever they were. Those were like big
that was the most common
in the area here for the bars that I went to. But I never saw them in bottles before. I was like, what the heck? It's like, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. I usually drink bottles, like I said before, because it was a handy item to have in case of a bar fight.
Exactly. You always had it at the ready.
But I was surprised because in bottles, I never even saw that before. I didn't even know they made it.
You didn't see that beer in bottles a lot.
Beer in bottles.
Oh yeah. Anything that sells. Yeah. Let me change the channel on you here a little bit. Since you mentioned a punk bar, I grew up with a band in the 80s that I absolutely loved. That years later they said was a punk rocker band, and I never perceived them as that. Do you remember the Outfield? Yep. Were they a punk band?
No, they were more of a, I wouldn't say new wave, but more of a rock band kind of thing.
Yeah, because they hit it big on the pop, on the pop charts, 87, 86, 87. And they came out and they had the album. Oh, shoot, yeah, I've really got a great memory.
Oh, well, you think of that, I just had to Google it. Double Down Saloon. That's
Double
That's
Down
where
Saloon. That's a lot like a movie I once
a
watched.
friend of mine told me to go there. So one night I went there, and of course, nothing going on. It was dead. I was like, well, when you go out to a city and something like that happens, you gotta make the best of it. So I sat there and freaking drank and talked to the bartender.
So
I think I
I
played
would like
the
to,
little video machine for a little bit, but
I would like to point out we got 22 minutes into this conversation before somebody brought up Miller High Life.
Oh my, that's the highlight. The champagne and beers.
that was one of two beers that a bar,
It's like colored
an
water.
adult entertainment facility bar had to sell. That and Budweiser. Two is
Yeah,
like two
yeah.
is like $1.90 or $2.90. I forget, but hey, if you're hanging out and that you only have two choices, you make the most of it. You know.
All right. Alan
sure
just
do.
texted me again. He said that he's about ready to get up to the TSA agent and give him his ID. So hopefully he'll get to this. He'll get
So
to the
where's-
scanner just fine. Let's hope. Let's keep our fingers.
Where's he coming from? Do you know?
I don't know. Probably Fort Wayne International Airport. Which is funny. I don't know if you guys had seen his video that he premiered
Last night.
Yeah, but he talks about Fort Wayne International Airport, the only international airport without any traffic, and you have to fly to another international airport to actually go anywhere international.
That cracked me up. It was like, yeah, this tiny little airport, and they actually had the balls to say it's an international airport. Like the
So
Wilmington one, well, Wilmington/Newcastle one, they don't say that. They just call it an airport.
So I think it has that title, International Airport, because Fort Wayne, we're not that far. Well, so I'm in southern Indiana, but northern Indiana, Fort Wayne area isn't that far from Canada. So I think that's probably why it's got that designator, because it can probably handle diverted flights from like O'Hare or Indianapolis or something like that if needed.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we had old Joe
Tulsa's
come
called
fly into our
International.
airport all the time just because it was local to him.
What's your Delaware?
Tulsa's is called
Yep.
Tulsa International, but I don't think they do it.
Is that for when he was on vacation at the Delaware residence?
Well, he had his home in Greenville, which I used to drive by all the time, and then he had some house in Rehoboth Beach somewhere. I think I heard somewhere that he sold his house in Rehoboth Beach, and all of his neighbors are actually pretty darn happy.
Who is this?
I know his neighbors were pissed off that he won the election last time. They had the Secret Service more heavily there before before he was, when he was just VP. They had basically the road shut down. His one up here were near me. So I don't know what they're going to do now. Supposedly he bought another house somewhere, and I don't know what his plans are. I don't care what his plans are, but next time I go up that way, I'll probably see, because they used to have this big road sign that says you can't travel down this road or at something. And one time there's protesters outside on the side of the road before that road. But yeah, I'll find out.
Can you imagine living in that neighborhood?
Well, it's a rich neighborhood too. So I don't know what I'll find out, I guess, next time I travel up that way. So
probably more HOA restrictions, and Carter has
well,
little
it's
pills.
really a wooded area, so you could probably get away with having antennas there easily.
Hey, that's not a bad idea. Hide some verticals. Speaking of which, I need to finish mine the worst way. It's really hard doing FT8 from an infed halfway strung around your shack on the upper floor of your house. You got to keep the wattage really low, and feeds right into your microphone or
My
your
antenna goes
studio.
Freddie, why is it in the house?
down.
Because I'm married. I'm married.
I'm married too, Freddie. My wife built me a shack outside.
Yeah. Your wife's a wonderful person. My wife is a beautiful lady who runs the place. who I want to remain married to.
Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that and put it up on X, please.
Yes. And play it in a loop. She allows me to live here. She's actually very wonderful. I pay for everything. She allows me to live here.
She allows you to store everything you buy there.
Well, and she's not exactly happy about that because, I shared every step of Tim's journey with her very casually. And I may not get to do anything on that big a scale, but I'm going to be pretty close because it's in the plans to get one of those prefab buildings,
Amish
like a
barn or shed, an
10
Amish
to 12
shed
or something. Yes, but it's going to go on a cement slab because I ain't making that.
So if you look, Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, he's got a, I think I'm like a mini, like a mini barn or something that is done. I've seen pictures of it, and I've seen a couple shots from the inside, behind the scenes. One. Yeah, I haven't seen Joe Brett's.
Joe Brett's got one.
Don.
And 5SKT, who refuses to watch the show on Wednesday nights because apparently it's his Sabbath of internet or something. I don't know what he said, but yeah, he just had a prefab building put in, and it's 6 in one hand, half dozen the other. This, because of the neighborhood, I wanted to have it's essentially a mother-in-law's quarters, right? It's a place
exactly, and does nothing but raise the value.
Exactly, and that was the whole justification behind it. We could have done it a lot for a lot less money, but at the end of the day, it's not. It's an investment more than anything else.
Yeah, a smart one too, really. Because if you, heaven forbid, you'd have to move, but if you do, you've got an equitable a property to sell. It's probably going to sell faster now that it has amenities, especially like a mother-in-law suite.
I haven't looked in a while, but I know when my in-laws decided to sell their house up in northern Indiana, I think it was on the market for about 2.5 hours. I mean, it just boom, boom, and they're out in the middle of nowhere. So we're getting some reports that your audio might be out of sync, Freddie.
It probably is. My internet is going up and down because somebody's downstairs probably streaming at 4K.
Brett, you're down there.
Which is another reason I need to get out of the attic.
Indignity.
Because the internet's slack.
So you need to be down there streaming this in 4K. We could do it if you want. I mean, we could kick this up to 4K.
No, that's okay. I'll be 2 minutes out of sync by the time that happens. I've actually got plans to reroute the internet connection, or I did have plans to reroute the internet connection to come in because it's cable internet, to bring it in upstairs and put the router up here, and so I could just feed off of it with a Cat 6 line. But if I'm going to move out into the backyard soon, spring, it'll be all for naught. So I think I'm just going to leave it be and try to make do until that happens. And I've got some other things that I could throttle up here. I've got like 8 freaking all-star nodes going for different tests and other things. I'm running a PBX for the 918 area code for Arden in our part of the state. And I have an Arden router, and don't necessarily use it, but it's on and running. I've got an Arden mesh phone on my desk. I've got Ham Shack hotline across the room. So yeah, I've got some devices pulling some juice around here. I need to pull back on the reins a little bit.
What are you using for your internet? Like your wireless?
As far as the router goes, or it's a Netgear. No, it is not. No, yeah, it is. It's a Netgear here. I have an Asus at the radio tower, so it's a Netgear. I want to say it's a Nighthawk.
Okay, the Nighthawk.
The
Nighthawks are pretty good.
Yeah, I got one.
Yeah, it's a good router. Don't get me wrong. My internet it's called Optimum. It used to be called Suddenlink. It's like a clone of Cox digital cable, but I only get internet from them. But it's on a system as such. If all my neighbors are on theirs at the same time, we're all pulling from the same faucet, and it lags. You get what you get. I had T-Mobile home internet, and it was great, but you don't get any control over your firewall. You don't get to do anything but what they say you can do. And they don't have any. They don't have any contracts. It was $50 a month if you did automatic withdrawal, or $55 if you didn't. You could get out of it anytime. Their customer service was great. I just couldn't do all Starlink inbound connections at all without running some kind of VPN, which I hadn't got into yet. You know, and if I figure that out, I may go back to them. I don't know. You can't ever tell.
What was it? 5G
It's
service?
been lagging. It was, because there's a 5G tower about 5 blocks away from me, and the service was great. Now, my son, who lived another 6 blocks further away from that tower, it struggled for him. He got a lot of buffering, but he did a lot of online gaming too, which they touted wasn't going to be an issue. And it wasn't for me, but I didn't do any online
All
gaming.
right, I just got another text from Alan, and I think he might be finishing up with his inspection at TSA. So we'll just hopefully he'll be here in just a second. So Mike says he's got the party line.
Yeah, I remember the party lines, man. That was a pain. We were on a party line with 4 other lines, and they were all relatives. Yeah, everybody knew what everybody was doing in those days. The 80s were great. Oh, yep. Sounds like we may be getting close. With the star of the show.
Alrighty. Okay, so Alan, can you hear me? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come in. Wow.
Stupid technology.
And he just dropped. Okay. All right.
He's got airport internet for sure.
He's got the airport internet. Oh man. So
switch to broadband.
When I was a kid, so growing up in Indianapolis, we had full touch tone, service when I was a kid. We still had, like, our homes were built in the 60s. So there were homes that still had rotary phones on the wall. And
we had rotary phones into the 80s.
But we as far back as I can remember, we in our house had touch tone phones when we moved in. And I think we were like the second owners, but so always had the service. But I did grow up knowing how to do the rotary phones. Never had party lines or anything like that to have to worry. But we used to go down to Kentucky to Lake Cumberland all the time, and the cabin that we stayed in there had rotary phone or rotary party line phones, and same kind of thing. So having to learn the system. All right, I see Alan is back. Can you ready to come in, Alan? Give me a thumbs up. All right, so Alan says he's good. I guess he's made it through TSA. They've inspected his bags, maybe did a anal cavity search or something like that. We'll leave that up to him. So let's get him in the show.
We'll judge by his voice tone.
Hey. What's up, everybody? Can you hear me?
Hey, buddy. How you doing?
Do we have audio and video? Everything's working. Okay, it only took one try to get it working this time. I just had to refresh my browser.
All right.
So good to see you all.
Same here.
So Alan, the whole topic of this thing, and I know you got hung up through TSA coming in here, and that's why you were late tonight. But not a big deal. Yeah. You're in here now. One of the big things that we wanted to talk about, especially with Hamvention coming up here in a couple of weeks, a lot of people are going to be flying, and you're seeing questions popping up about how do I bring ham radio gear with me and everything. And you premiered your video last night, and it was very timely topic, because I think it's a good thing for people to do. I mean, I'm going to be flying down there, and I'm going to have it. So let's talk about some of the things that people are going to need to do and prepare for when they fly with ham radio gear and batteries.
Well, first of all, it wasn't really a big deal. Like, even in my head, I was just overthinking it. Remembered watching some ham radio crash course videos from a long time ago, and Josh saying, "Oh, prepare to get pulled aside." And when I heard him say, "Oh, you prepare to get pulled," I thought they were going to pull me into the back room and like interrogate me or something, right? But I'm like, dude, it's just a radio. Every time I've gone through TSA for the first time I went with an HT, I'm like, dude, I feel like I got like contraband on me or something. But no, nobody cared. And then there was one other trip. I went and met my family in Las Vegas. I brought my 705 and like a roll-up J-pole, and like that was it. I didn't end up using it. And I made the same mistake that I made this time, which is leaving your radio in your luggage or in your backpack is a terrible idea. Put it, you know what they say, all right, get out your iPads, get out your laptops, put them in the tray or whatever. Put them in the tray with your iPad where TSA can clearly see it. And if they do decide to pull it aside, it's in a different tray. So at least you can get your stuff back and start putting your shoes on and stuff while they're doing that. And then just be friendly with the TSA. And like, I wish I could have been recording my interactions with them because they were all really positive, and I usually ask them about what they're doing, about their job, to get them talking about themselves, and that's kind of a good strategy too. And they'll ask me about my ham radio hobby, like, were you in the service? Like, no, I'm an Eagle Scout, and my Scoutmaster and my dad got me into this thing, and blah blah blah. And then it's really fun. And the battery thing, I was kind of concerned about that too, but I just have a little 3 amp hour Bioenno battery, like a QRP size batteries. I wouldn't worry about that too much. It's definitely like with all of your other battery banks and phones and things that have batteries in them, just keep them in the cabin with you, especially if you're from a smaller town where like usually they will check the luggage when you're boarding the plane in that small little airplane, right, in the cargo hold. But this time I was the last one on the airplane because I usually am the last one on the airplane because it means less time sitting in one place. And so they checked my luggage. You'll see your luggage in Ontario, California. I'm like, what the heck? I didn't plan for this. If I would have known you were gonna take my luggage from me, I probably would have like at least packed a toothbrush and some things in my backpack too. So definitely don't want to have any batteries in that luggage too, because you never know. If you're from a small town, they might just take it and have some unplanned thing happen. And I want to be in control of all of especially my radios. I can buy myself a new toothbrush, but even my toothbrush, only I am allowed to lose my stuff.
You brought up a couple good things, and I think Freddie could probably talk about this a little bit from his law enforcement background. Having your stuff outside of your bag. I mean, obviously they have a right to inspect it, especially if they see something in the scanner that concerns them. But generally, your underwear and things like that are not going to concern them. So if your radio gear or things that could be questionable or they want to inspect are outside of that bag, then they're not going to open your bag up, and your underdrawers are going to be all over the place where everybody can see it, because that does happen. I'm sorry, it's still out in the open. They have to do it in the open. And so that's the way it kind of, so that is a very good tip to do. And I didn't even think about that. The last time I flew, once again, the commercial radio gear, none of that stuff, they never had any issues with that. It was the battery. And, and I had just had done the video on that Denko 5.5 amp hour battery, and it was a kit battery. So I did the work. And I was pretty adamant. I said, make sure you put that sticker on there. Because they'll get really sketchy about homemade stuff. I think it was Mike KM6TWI was talking a couple of days ago about, his batteries. The one battery he used to fly around with a lot looked like a bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, like that battery that KMRD made looks a little sketchy.
So having that sticker, although it was a sticker I could have printed myself, it made it look official enough. And I obviously put the Denko sticker on there. So, that was cool. Now you had mentioned you flew with a 3 amp hour battery, which is pretty small. The one thing that I think everybody should do, there's domestically here in the United States, I can't speak to outside of the United States. TSA has a restriction. They set a specific, and I believe it's measured in watt hours, but which you could convert it to amp hours, because the voltage we're doing 13.8 volts or whatever it is, 13.9 volts, and you could figure out the amp hour rating. I think that translates to 12 amp hours, if I'm not mistaken.
The Bioenno batteries, I think, have the watt hours on the side of the battery too.
That makes sense.
I think.
But the caveat to that is that even though the TSA has their own the guidelines, the carrier, the airline can have an even tighter restriction for whatever reason. So it's always best to make sure that you check the carrier to see if they have any tighter restrictions than what just the plain TSA is. Chris, one of the guys in the chat, I don't think he's in tonight, but he was just talking about he's flying over to Romania, I think, this week, and he was asking on Josh's after chat about this topic came up, and so not only is he flying to EU, but then I think he was talking about having to go on a couple different carriers too. So same thing. You should always check with the carrier that you're going to be flying on.
Yeah.
Now in your video, you did also talk about your mast and how that drew a little bit of it.
My pole.
So all right. So Alan's hanging out at the airport with his pole, and that drew a little bit of attention.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, nice pole there.
Out with the pole, or I just want to be clear on this.
Well,
okay, go ahead.
They made him pull. Apparently the TSA made him pull his pole out. So
here's Alan with his pole.
Yeah. That's Shannon. It's 20 foot long.
As a man among men, I'm telling you, boys.
Especially, this is the kids table, man. We can.
That's right.
Whatever, but the antenna mast, the 20-foot pole, they were especially interested in that because it looks like a pipe looking thing, right? So the first time I went through, the pole is still in my luggage, and then the guy's looking at it. I can see him on the X-ray. I can see the little screen. There's this big, pipe looking thing that's like sideways in my luggage. I'm like, okay, so that makes sense. And then they go, and they pull all my stuff aside, and then they opened up my whole kit that first time when I was departing Fort Wayne. And then the guy, he's like, he's got this little I don't know what you call it, this little thingy he's like, swabbing it with. And then I'm just asking him what's that for, and he's testing for explosive, that type of stuff. Of course he is. And it's just, and then I had to like open up the cap on the end, and he's like, oh, okay, I can see it's telescopic. And I'm just, it's just like a fishing pole for wire, basically.
You had a soda beams. Is that a fiberglass or is that
I think it's
carbon fiber?
Fiberglass. I think it's fiber. Or, no, it's a carbon. I'm not sure. I think it's fiberglass.
I wonder if I wonder if it's because they couldn't see through it in the scanner.
Yeah. And then so here's the other thing. So then after I got through that, and I'm like, okay, light bulb, let's go ahead and put all of the radio stuff in with my iPad in their own separate tray. And then the other 2 trips, because I actually had to get through security twice more because I got delayed in Dallas Fort Worth on the return trip, so I had to spend the night there. That's a whole nother story. But both times I just had the pole out, and they're just like, what's that? And then I'm like, oh, it's an antenna mast. Okay, good, you're good. And then they just scanned it right right through, didn't pull me aside
Oh,
or
that's good.
anything. And then whenever anybody's asking me about my ham radio gear anyway, I'm going to get excited and tell you all about it, you know?
Please ask me about my ham gear.
Yes. But yeah, that antenna, anything that looks weird like that, like a K8 MRD battery
pipe bomb
or a telescoping pole, a pipe looking thing, just put it out in the open and put it in a separate tray. So at least if they pull it aside, you can start tying your shoes and stuff while they're looking at that. That's my best advice.
Well, I would follow that up with get TSA pre-check, and then you don't have to take your shoes off.
Yeah, don't you have to pay money for that though?
It's not that much.
It depends on.
Yeah,
I mean, after a couple times of having to be inconvenienced with taking your shoes off and all that other stuff,
Just depends on how much your time is worth.
They have to
That's all it is.
fingerprint you. They take a bunch of information, make sure you're not a bad guy, and
just the first time. It's not that bad. It's no worse than getting a concealed carry permit. Oh, I guess us in Indiana, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Allegedly, we don't hear it.
Speaking of which, and I'm just going to throw this out. I've had an easier time to fly with firearms than I have with ham radio gear.
Wow,
that's saying something.
Well, I only fly to free states. I don't fly to non-free states.
I hear you.
He doesn't fly to
California. No. How do they feel about it in Maine? In Maine, fairly liberal about firearms. Is it Maine, New Hampshire? Can't remember.
Yeah, some not all of them.
They say.
Maine, I think, is, and I think it's New Hampshire. I could be wrong.
I want to say
all
that.
The other states are a little bit anti-firearms.
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah. So, yeah, you just really got to pick and choose where you're flying, I guess.
So our friend Mike says he can't get pre-check. He's got too many warrants.
It happens.
Well,
is there a shorter line to wait through when you do pre-check? Probably, right?
No. Generally.
Well, you would think so, but I have never flown in my life, so I don't have to deal with these woes. I just drive.
Freddie Mac,
never
flown.
I've never left the ground on purpose.
How are you? How you getting to Orlando? Or not?
No,
are you going to
I'm
Orlando?
not going to Orlando because I got, thanks to you, get to go to Dayton, and I'm Orlando may be on the calendar next year, but it's just not this year. It's too much going on. Way too much.
You're going to war, right?
I got a cousin Eddie all spruced up and ready to go.
All right.
True appreciation for cousin Eddie if you've never seen him. But yeah. That's all ready to go. I got a brand new lithium and one of these new Power Queen 100-watt amp-hour batteries for him, for cousin Eddie. And Mama's got it all cleaned up, and she's instructed me from now on how to clean it once I get back. Boy, that was a big deal. I ain't making a video about that. Man. Ooh, it was a soft subject.
Not bad.
But let's just say I know better now. I know the path to keep Mama happy. So, yeah. Definitely going to more. I'm just hoping we don't get any rain. No, we don't. And we lucked out last year, and we had one warm day. It was almost hot, and then boom, the bottom fell out. We had cold temperatures, but it was totally doable.
You know, it wasn't bad. The worst part of that was having to walk over to the shower house, or actually worse was walking back from the shower house.
You're wet.
You just got out of a nice hot shower, and you're still kind of Because I went and I wore shorts and a t-shirt, and shower shoes to walk over there. So that's basically what I came back in was something like that. And I got
the trick for sure was when you eyes open up halfway at 5 a.m., just get your butt up and go to the showers now before you have to wait in line. It's totally worth it. You can sleep when you get back home. But when you wake up at 5 a.m., just get up and go to the showers. I brought a stinking RV so I wouldn't have to go to the showers. And guess who forgot to drain their tankless water heater? Yeah. It was me. It's like 7 holes in that sucker. We got through it. It was a good day. It was a good trip, for real. I really had a good time. Looking forward to it again.
What? Let's not forget the larceny.
Man,
Grand larceny.
about erased our memory. That was a good night. That was a
Freddie brought a big bottle of larceny. It's a
4-year bourbon. They make a further year, but
Yeah.
it's a good Kentucky bourbon, and it is smooth and will sneak up on you.
There's a question for you in the chat there, Freddie.
I've lost my screen here. You're gonna have to read it to me. I'm coming back. I'm on my way back.
They're asking if you are going to be at.
I am going to be at More Expo. Tim, I think Tim's going to be there. I think you are. I was thinking you were.
Yep.
No,
I am.
Kyle and Jason
I'm
will
gonna
be
be there.
there. I'm not sure about Digital Rancher. I don't know why he wouldn't, unless he's got other obligations. For those of you that don't know, the More Expo in Springfield, Missouri is an overlanding show, and there's a lot of ham curious folks there, and they're setting us up for lack of a better word, a booth area out in front of the building that the weather permits, so that we can field questions and show them ham radios and different modes and all kinds of stuff. We even did an activation up there, the Butterfield Trail, Overland Trail. What was that, north of town?
Yeah, I think we left the fairgrounds and kind of went north.
Yeah,
East?
it sounds right.
Northwest.
Yeah.
Northwest, but it wasn't too far. And I tell you what, it wasn't even on the map.
No,
I'm surprised somebody found it. But it was a trail that came through, and so when you look at the POTA map, it wasn't like here's a yellow dot saying there's an entity here. So, but somebody in the group knew
I
that
think
it was
Kyle
there,
scouted that out, if I'm not mistaken.
we went. It could be, and I believe KE6GAE here. He's from that
cool.
area, so
Yeah.
yes,
You'll be able to pick me out of that crowd. There's going to be a bunch of expensive tents and hiker trailers and all that kind of stuff, all this cool stuff. And right in the middle of it, or towards the edge, you're going to see this 1991 18-foot RV that looks like a dirty sock.
I tell you, I'm still trying to get myself into a trailer. That was the plan when I bought the Bronco, was to go overlanding and everything. My wife had the stroke, and once she got back to where things where she was comfortable, then it's like, I don't know if I really want to do that anymore.
Have you seen that
like,
Tuscan deal that they were showing on the group the other day? I think Kyle and Jason put it up. It's like it's either a pull behind trailer, or you can put it in the back of a truck. It's
is it in our in the, in the
I think it's in the More group
on the Discord?
That was an interesting idea. I mean, it's more of a shell than anything, but the pull behind version looks a lot like the hiker trailer, only maybe a little taller for a little more headspace. That was my only beef with the tracker or the hiker trailer. You're pretty much, if you're inside of it, you're on your hind end, or you're crawling around on your knees, and it doesn't appeal to my arthritis.
So that's a very valid point. When my oldest son went from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts, we went to the very first camp out, and it's always in March after they cross over, and we get there, so it's almost guaranteed to rain. And it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold and rainy, and so we get there, and the only tent I got at this point is just basically one of those Walmart 2-person pup tents that I had bought one other time when we did a couple quick, easy, like overnight things in Cub Scouts. So we get there. I'm in the tent. He's over with the rest of the kids in a big, giant group tent. This was their first camp out, and they had all the first year scouts had just come in. They each kind of had a big tent for their patrol. And so I'm in there and I don't know, it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy, it's like 2:00 in the morning. I've got to go to the bathroom. So I'm rolling around on the ground, trying to get my boots on so I could get outside, and I get a Charlie horse.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, oh my geez. So here I am in the middle of the sailor, getting ready to start screaming out like a sailor because I got a Charlie horse in the middle of this thing. And yeah, I rolled around and I swore up and down I would never have another tent that I could not stand up in.
And that's the thing right there.
And so, and because it's so much easier to get up and get your shoes on. But to your point, the hiker trailers, and not anything against hiker, that style of trailer, you're right. You're basically rolling in there, which means you're going to have to be on your back to get dressed and stuff like that. And unless you've got awnings that,
because
I'm not going to say close up, but unless you have awnings that close up, you're not getting out and dropping your drawers to, change your britches or anything like that. Yeah, well, you probably could.
Well, Kyle's does. He's had the pop up, I don't know, shower curtain, whatever it was, so he could take a shower outside with that full covered thing. And all I could think about is how much you'd freeze your hind end off. But it did have hot water. He had one of those little tankless water heaters. Mm-hmm. He had an awning that went on 3 sides of it, so you keep your food area covered. I mean, all that's functional. Don't get me wrong. It's just I would feel better if I could stand up in it, and or at least something a little less on my knees.
So there's a brand. I don't think they were at Moore last year when we were there, but there's a brand called Mission. It's out of Canada, and it's a box trailer like the hikers and everything. Except for you come in from the back and the roof tilts up.
I've seen those.
So it's hinged up at the front and it pops up to the back. So when you're in the back of it, you're standing up full height. And I think it's tall enough that they even have some cots that they can put up there. So you'll have a bed down low and then cots up top. So you can have 2 cots up there for kids and stuff like that.
That's intriguing.
I don't know if I'd want to be in that tight of a thing. So, hey, Chris Becker was talking about hole punch POTA or something.
Hole punch POTA. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, Chris, down there's last year Toads did a POTA get together. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's Dayton, Ohio. I don't know about Dayton, Ohio. I was thinking Orlando. Toads did a get together out at Lake Louisa State Park, and that's about 35-40 minutes away from the fairgrounds. And it was really, really nice park out there. But I don't think there's not any like super close parks, and I don't know what the gun range situation is around there. As far as Dayton, I don't know about there either. I don't.
For POTA parks
or gun ranges.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know that one. Don't know that one.
Yeah.
That whole trip was a learning experience for me, but super cool. That was some beautiful country up there.
In Ohio?
In Ohio, yeah. Xenia, Dayton, that whole area coming in, that was really pretty up there. I don't know. I don't know what I expected, to tell you the truth, but it was very beautiful countryside.
Something I'm always impressed with when I'm over in that area, and is in the westward expansion, Ohio in that area was the West, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was basically the end of the civilized United States, and Indiana was a territory. And so you look at the farmhouses, the barns from the 1800s in there. There's some really, really nice, beautiful barns, farmhouses, and stuff like that. And once you get over to Indiana, we don't have anything like that old.
Welcome to
yeah, I mean, it was more frontier territory stuff
Yeah.
until Indiana became a state. So, and by then the styles of homes and barns and everything had changed. So.
Okay. So, is it Alan? Don't get me wrong. I'm old and I am
Alan.
terrible with names.
That is
I
I.
can tell you your YouTube channel. Have you ever been to Dayton?
I have not. I
Dayton,
haven't been
Dayton?
to Dayton. I haven't been to Hamvention or any of the big ham shows. Always wanted to, probably will too. Dayton's only like a couple hours from Fort Wayne. It's like right.
That's what I'm saying.
It's right next door. I have adventured in Ohio a few times. I've been on a few trips out that way, and I like Ohio,
Well,
man. If I had to pick one between Indiana or Ohio, I'd pick Ohio. The roads are so much better too. Like there's just.
They really are. That was a shock to me as well. In the rural areas, the roads are.
I have a question for Tim. Is the endless road construction and road closures and interstates and crappy roads in Indiana, is that a Fort Wayne thing or is that an Indiana thing?
That is our motto is "Welcome to Indiana under construction."
That's everywhere.
Yeah,
that's pretty much our motto. Yeah, so that happens. I mean, obviously because we can do limited time frame for road construction, it seems like all year, every year they do it. They've gotten a lot better about doing that. But the Interstate 69 up by where you live. Alan, I think you got a question here. But 69, which is the big interstate that goes up from Indianapolis all the way up through Ann Arbor, Michigan. Back in the 70s, when they had the big crunch and everything, the fuel crunch, they stopped the production of a lot of interstates, and I-69 got stopped. And they had plans to take it all the way down through Houston, Texas. And so Indiana stopped theirs at Indianapolis, and just this last couple of years, they finally finished building it, and it's now contiguous from Ann Arbor, Michigan, all the way down to Henderson, Kentucky, and then there's some carryover once you get through Henderson. It's a parkway. It's like the Blue Ridge or the Bluegrass Parkway or something like that. Still interstate speeds and everything, limited access. And then it's making its way down. But yeah, we dealt with 7-8 years of construction between Indianapolis and Bloomington.
Yeah, as soon as you drive across the border into Ohio, the roads just become perfectly smooth. I mean, I went and did a POTA trip out by Lake Erie, by Cleveland, and there's maybe like one spot of construction the entire 4-hour drive, and I was like, damn, this is a lot nicer. This is like how it would think it should be, and they were a lot smoother, and I don't know, it was a noticeable difference on top of that. And you would think with all the construction that you see, actually there was construction on my way home from work just now too, my usual route. There was a whole section of the road just blocked off all of a sudden. But the one day people are waiting on me, there you go. I'm like, thanks in Indiana, here we go again. And then so I diverted to some other way that I don't usually go. And you know how the cities are all laid out in a circle here, like Arizona, Nevada, California, everything's laid out like a grid so you can navigate. But out here, dude, on my way home from work just now, it takes me on some turn and I go onto some other street. I think I'm turning south, but I really went west, and I took another turn. Okay, I need to get going south again, and then I took another wrong turn and started going north. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea which way I'm going. I figured it out, and I wasn't that late tonight, but
that's TSA that got you caught up. Just remember,
jamming me up.
That's the story here. And see, TSA was jamming you up for that thing that I So Chris Becker says he lives in Ohio and they prioritize roads better, and I kind of see that. I mean, I guess a lot of it depends on whether or not you're getting that was it least cost bid for that stuff or something else. So there was a question in here about smoke detectors. I think that was Freddie Mac's phone, is what you're hearing there, Douglas.
Yeah, I've got my daggum notifications turned up. My wife is sending me links to storage buildings, so she's still ready for me to move out into the backyard. I think I'm
So
ready.
you got to use that to your advantage.
It's what I'm saying. The only thing I probably get out of that is a bathroom, but I'll take it.
I got a mini split in here to keep this place warm.
I was going to ask you about that. What is your square footage ish?
Well, it's 12 by 20. It's the
12 by
building.
20. That's the one she just sent me, a 12 by 20. And
Okay.
I'm curious about how efficient mini splits are for heat.
They're not bad, but it's different. It's a heat pump.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So I've had a couple times where I've had to turn the air conditioning on to defrost the coils, because that's how it works. And we can go into the science of that.
Oh,
later.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's
ways,
cheaper than putting in a traditional furnace
right.
air conditioning system.
My first man cave that I built, turns out I don't know how to make them good, but it was 12 by 12, 8-foot wall, small pitch of a ceiling, and I just put a little window unit in the wall. I didn't have any windows because I didn't want any, and it kept it so cool. It frees you out. And in the wintertime, if I was out there, I would just put in one of those little oil space heaters. Looks like a little radiator. It's basically just ambient air. That was more than enough to keep that, because again, no windows.
Yep.
I only had a door for loss of air, so it worked out great.
So Chris is asking about the mini split and the negative temperatures. It's not bad, but the same concept of how a air conditioner works, where it's drawing moisture or heat out of the air and pushing it outside. This is doing the reverse. It's drawing heat out of the cold outside air and compressing that gas and bringing it in here, running it through another exchanger, which then creates heat and then blows air over that. So it's kind of weird how that works. And like I said, the only drawback has been the fact that I've had to turn on the air conditioner because the coils have iced over. So a lot of it, I guess, has to do with the amount of relative humidity in the air. But I have one of those oil. It's an electric heater that's got oil in it that it heats up and then radiates. And I've got that in here that in the event that I have to turn it off or defrost it or whatever, I can kick that thing on and keep the temperature warm. And as long as it doesn't, drop down into the 50s, I'm comfortable out here, and comfortable because we have water. I have running water and everything out here too. So
yeah,
I'm comfortable with that.
So tell me, how the old heat pumps in houses had an electric coil backup, for lack of a better word, when it got really cold and the heat that it generated by itself wasn't quite enough. It had auxiliary heat that was basically some electric coils. Do they have those in those mini splits?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it kind of makes sense. They're really small packages anyway, compared to what the old house units were. So I was just curious about that. I haven't researched them enough to know.
Yeah, and it's quiet. It's not big.
I like
just
the quiet
on the wall. It's pretty quiet, and I can adjust the fan, and it goes up and down and side to side. And
especially on our line of work, I've got a window unit behind me upstairs for heat and air, and it can get pretty loud.
Mm-hmm.
The microphone catches it, and I've got to turn it off, and then you're either freezing or sweating. So,
all righty. Well, hey, any questions in the chat that Alan might be able to answer there?
Anybody? Any questions?
Anywhere, come down.
Any station, please come down. Right. Priority or emergency traffic. Short time. Short time, no traffic.
I think, Alan, what you should have done was take the 705 with a J pole, hang it up over the, in the back of the toilet stalls. They got the little hook for your coat. Just hang the J pole in there and just do the porta potty net from the airport
Hey,
bathroom.
porta potties on the air.
Hey, it's no joke.
That's-
Somebody last year Dayton called porta potties on the air.
What?
Well, if Carlos-
like actually on the air?
Mhm.
That's
Oh
crazy.
yeah. Yep.
If Carlos can do parachute mobile, you, Alan, I could foresee you doing your own niche of either parking lots on the air or porta potties on the
Punk
air.
rock ham radio on the air. There we go.
Well, and see, maybe live in concert.
A punk rock ham radio net. It'll be
Ooh,
like
there you go.
punk rock karaoke where we do like a name your tune, right? And then everybody will go around and sing a song, and then you have to, I don't know, like name that tune or
Hey.
something.
And it's got to be on All Star now. It's got to be on.
That'll be
All-Star.
fun, actually.
I'm
We could
telling
get
you,
a lot of people
All
hooked up.
Star is still my favorite digital mode. Now, I got to ask this. Mike's friend is asking about taking lube on an airplane. And I don't know what kind of lube he is talking about.
Could we be more specific?
Yep. Mike, could you ask your friend to be a little bit more specific on that?
Like lube.
We could go in
So-
so many different directions now.
Yeah, and guys, if you haven't, Jeff just threw in Alan's channel, Punk Rock Ham Radio.
Subscribe.
Yeah, go over there and get him some subscribe.
Everybody,
Like, subscribe,
to
share
Punk
it.
Rock Ham Radio. I'm building up the channel. I'm pretty new to this YouTube thing. I've been making videos for about 6 months, but I'm trying to break 1,000 subscribers, and I ain't stopping, man. I am just going to keep pumping out videos. The goal is 1 video a week, within reason, but they're coming along a lot better. Whatever I'm out there doing, adventuring on the weekend, you get to come along with me and just have fun playing radio, especially if you're new to ham radio or you're interested in ham radio. My YouTube channel is a demonstration of how much fun you can have with ham radio, playing parks on the air, or whatever wacky adventure that I decide to go on. I think my channel would be really good for you. So subscribe to Punk Rock Ham Radio, and if you like punk rock music, we'll get along great. So subscribe.
And if you don't like punk rock music, you'll get along great with Alan too. I tell you, I
may
stumbled
end
across
up liking it.
Alan's. I stumbled across Alan's channel. I don't know, 6 months ago or something. I think it was about 6 months ago, and I was like, God, this guy's, because at that point you were out testing antennas, building antennas,
Yes.
just doing everything you can, and taking them out hiking somewhere and doing it, not just necessarily doing it from the
Right.
parking lot.
That's really my main.
But going back in the bush.
Yeah, that's
room,
my
yeah.
main jam, is going hiking out in the woods doing ham radio, because I mean that's how I grew up in ham radio. I did summits on the air as a technician in California. If you're willing to walk yourself up a 10,000-foot mountain, dude, with that $18 booth plane, you can make you'll work a pile up. I mean, I had a Linko DJ G7, that tri-bander. That was my first radio, so I actually had a pretty good radio. My dad gave it to me for Christmas when I was a kid, so he kind of is partly responsible for this ham radio addiction thing. But yeah, you could go up a peak and work a summit, and I've always wanted to get on HF and do summits on the air. And everything that I learned how to do with ham radio, I learned from watching YouTube. KG6HQD, I found his videos on YouTube, hiking and ham radio, and I'm like, there's a thing for like going up a mountain and doing radio, and I've just had this radio. I've been listening to all of the repeaters and all of this stuff. I was like, I'm gonna do that. It's like, I'm gonna do that, but I mean, I don't like passing tests, so I didn't have any money in California either, so I couldn't really afford any other gear than that radio that my dad gave me. So I'm gonna do a whole entire video. I've been meaning to, like a vlog form style video about how I got into ham radio. I have like tons of cool stories and stuff that I could share, even stuff that I'm doing now every weekend, going out adventuring, or some of my experiences, I think, are really worth sharing with everyone. And I'm having fun making videos. And if you don't watch my videos, I'm gonna just keep making videos because it's fun.
There you go. All right, cool. Well, hey, we are coming up on well, it's a little over an hour and 15 minutes. Probably ought to start winding down here. Freddie, what do you got going on this week? I think do you have a
I
video tomorrow
do,
night?
I
Did I
do,
see
I
that?
do, and I think
Ooh.
tomorrow night's video is my latest. Well, I want to call it a collaboration. Jory Pratt, W5GLE, had recently joined the our Discord server over at Ham Radio Crusader Discord server. We've been working on a lot of different scripts, and he wrote one to say the IP address of your node upon reboot. You remember the back in the Ham VoIP node, when you rebooted your node, it would announce your IP address. Well, his will do that. You can turn it off, and at will, you can make it say your local IP address, or you can make it say your public IP address. It really helps with troubleshooting. And
there was just
say again?
There was a guy today in the forum. Specifically asking about that because he's like, "Where'd it go?"
Yeah, I dropped a link.
And somebody's like, "Yeah, it's not in there."
And if you want it, go back to Ham VoIP. That's what they said.
I seen that remark, and I was very sad that they were making that remark. But in 24 hours, I mean, they can see it on my GitHub right now. So Ham Radio Crusader, github.com. It's github.com/KD5FMU. It's there.
People that make those kind of comments just really tick me off. I've said that before.
Yeah, they're arbitrary and they're not really helpful. I want to help people.
No.
I don't want to just make them feel like they're not doing something right.
I think that's the that's the premise of the Ham Radio Kids Table.
Yeah.
Right. We're here to have fun. And if you want to do something, do it, try it, enjoy it. Right. And is it always going to work out? No, but
it's
you know what?
Radio still.
It's ham radio, and you're having fun, and go do it. And the curmudgeons that want to say stuff like that, well, they can go back with the adults and sit there with the rest of the curmudgeons.
Exactly.
Take your antennas and shove them where the sun don't shine.
There you go.
I have this to say: if you're not making mistakes, then you're doing something wrong. Just go out there and do the thing. Plug everything. Go for it. Even if your antenna doesn't work or something doesn't work, you will learn something. I guarantee it. And just with enough persistence, you'll get it. Don't be afraid of failure. Just go out there, do the thing, and the experience gain, no matter what you're doing. I promise you will learn something. I don't even know them. I look at all these other guys on YouTube, and I don't even think I will ever be as good as what these guys do. But I just keep doing what I'm doing because I'm having fun doing it. And before you know it, I'll have a whole home QTH battle station set up years from now.
Oh, watch out.
One thing leads to another.
Watch out. Well, Alan, you and I were talking about this last night when we were prepping your gear. And, we talked about scouting and, failure is the best learning tool out there. Right. Yep. And if you don't make those mistakes, or if you don't get the opportunity to make those mistakes, you're never going to learn. Right. And that's a lot of times we get a lot of, and I'm going to say gatekeepers, sad hams, whatever you want to call them, where they just come in and you're like, well, you got to do it this way, this way, this way. Well, why? Well, I don't know, but you got to do it this way, this way.
Because that's the way we did it for 50 years.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Whatever. So always push through it, and don't be afraid to try things. And if you are somebody that already knows, and you've got the young guy next to you who's like, I want to do this, this, and this, and you're like looking at him going, well, it's not going to work. Just let them try it. As long as they're not hurting themselves and they're not going to do something to hurt themselves. There's always that safety factor you have to keep in mind. But if you know it's going to fail, let it fail, and give them that opportunity to learn. So
Roger in the chat's doing winter field day for the first time as one Oscar. This weekend is my first actual time participating in field day with Tim, and Carlos and I are all going to link up, and there'll probably be a video coming from that soon. So cool, man. It'll be our first field day for the both of us. I usually end up in the middle of these contests just doing POTA or soda or whatever I'm doing. I'm like, oh yeah, today's that day. And it's still fun. So I've been on the air those days, but I haven't actually participated in the game. Speaking of which, just thanks for the reminder, because I still got to read the rules and everything for winter field day. I will be ready.
Rules are overrated. We'll get to it. But Jeff,
it'll be a lot.
What do you got coming up?
Oh, I'm working on a video from New Year's Day. New Year's Day. I think I'm gonna split it in half. It was a little bit long, but I think I'm gonna split it in half, and I just need time to work on it. So, probably filmed another video after that from last weekend. Yeah, I can't remember what interesting stuff happened. I guess I'll figure it out again once I go through these videos, and we'll see. But I am working on trying to get FT8 going on, as I mentioned earlier, with my 891. Just got to put all the pieces together and try to get them to all work. So
FT8's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it used to be when I was used to be able to do it from home. I did do it with my Raspberry Pi 4 when I first started with Parks on the Air. Did it until the software I was using, who I will not name from another ham, just didn't want to work anymore. So after getting fed up with nuking and paving the Raspberry Pi multiple times, I just said, done. SSB, that's all I'm going to do. I like talking to people. I really do. It's FT8 has its purposes. I'm not bagging on it. I used it. I used it at home when I have RFI all around me and I can't get out with SSB. But it has its purposes, but I got used to talking to all the time using SSB, and I enjoyed that. I enjoy hearing different people, their accents, how they talk. Like we had Jerry pass away last year.
He had an
Alpha
accent.
Delta. Yeah, like from Missouri.
Missouri.
And that's the only thing I can remember. Every time I hear that, I think of him. So I think it lends to more memories with amateur radio doing SSB than FT8.
Single sideband's the most fun, definitely. I'd agree. Like every time I get a DX station, I just got Mexico for the first time. I was working a bunch of South America this last time.
Alpha.
Yeah, I'm like so happy to hear from those guys too. And
they're awesome.
And they're happy to talk to you too. You know,
yep.
So that's a lot of fun. I enjoy FT. I do have days where I don't really want to talk to anybody too, so FT8's fun for that. Or having a 705 and only 10 watts with that thing, if band conditions aren't good, I only am going to have 10 watts, but between single sideband and FT8, I'll get the park activated. I do want to learn CW. I need to sit down and do I'm just like any other ham that says he's gonna do it, but he doesn't do it. I know how to send CQ. That's about the limit of my abilities. But the prospect of having a radio that's like the size of a pack of cards, and then that's how you do summits on the air, man, or just go on a big long hike with this tiny little radio. That is like I just think that is the coolest thing, and like I want to do that. But there's also no mountains here either, so that's a little discouraging. But I don't know. I'm sure I'll figure something out.
So there are 3, I believe. Cooley was posted in here earlier.
In southern Indiana.
Yeah, in southern Indiana, there's a few summits. Well, I'll tell you what. Now that I've lost a lot of weight and I'm not as afraid to hike as much, and we get into warm weather, if you want to go down and make a trip down to southern Indiana and try
to hike up
a summit.
Yeah, I need to get down that way, whether it's a soda or a Poda, but especially the sodas, man. Because there's a soda award that's been on my to-do list like since I got here. I think if you activate one summit in 5 different states or 5 different associations, there's a thing for that. But it's been almost 4 years since I've really participated in soda. But that's the gateway drug that got me here, and I'm so glad I got out here. And there's no mountains here, dude. This sucks, man. I was kind of bummed out for a little while, and then I finally going to Indiana motivated me. Okay, dude, just go sit down, study, upgrade to general, pass the test. I just studied all of the right answers, by the way. But that's how you just pass a test, and then you have the rest of your life to learn all of the practical stuff. And I discovered Poda, and dude, it's that same kind of a thing, just going out on adventures, activating, and I'm after the most unique Podas out there. So the way I activate parks on the air when it's not wintertime is kind of a soda style anyway. I'm gonna go hike. I'm gonna find an activation zone in the park boundary, usually somewhere with a nice view that I can only get to by foot. And that's just how I grew up in ham radio. That's what I want to keep doing. But want to go to southern Indiana, man. I'm going to get all 3 of those peaks. There's 3 1-point peaks that I want to get at some point.
Cool. So this week, speaking of great views, this is where Alan and myself and Carlos K9OL Life at Terminal Velocity. This is where we're activating right on the lakefront. So this will be up in northern Indiana. It's at the Indiana Dunes State Park, which is wrapped in 4 boundaries by the Indiana Dunes National Lakefront. So it's a national park. And somewhere in here, there are 2 nature preserves. So we're still trying to work out the logistics, whether it's going to be a 2-fer or a 3-fer. But if we go here to the waterfront, it's going to be it's only going to be a 2-fer. But nonetheless, the city of Chicago is in our things right here. So you can see the city of Chicago, see all the skyscrapers from where we'll be at, which is kind of interesting. And another thing that I want to do, speaking of unique places, is come back up in the summertime when it's a little bit warmer. This J.D. Marshall Nature Preserve is a POTA entity.
Sign me up.
It is a POTA entity.
Yeah.
So we're either got a paddleboard out there, rowboat out there, kayak out there. I don't know.
Does anybody know how to drive a boat?
Oh yeah.
Because I've looked into boat rentals and everything too. Like I want to get that park done, but I'm thinking California boys, probably not a smart idea to go learn how to drive a boat on Lake Michigan. I don't think that's a good idea. I should probably have somebody that has been around, has more experience with this lake than I do.
Yeah, boats aren't normal lakes are not that big of a deal. Because this body of water is so big, it is affected by tidal, just like the ocean. So you're going to have waves coming in, and you'll see them. We'll get whitecaps and everything.
It's a wild sea lake. It's not even a regular lake. It's a wild sea.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, besides being the only Great Lake completely inside the United States, I don't know if it's Superior's bigger, but I think this is the largest lake in the country. And it's like 300 and some square mile. I don't know what it was, like 300 some square miles. It's pretty big. So
a lot of bank fishing.
Yeah, just no fun. No, I don't know what you catch out of there from the bank.
That's a good question. Is that freshwater of the Great Lakes?
Yes, that it's all fresh
Yep.
water.
It's all freshwater.
But there is all the lakes are interconnected,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe they're all interconnected. But you can get out to the ocean. I believe it's this one here.
Yep.
I believe there's a channel that you can go all the way out to the ocean. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can get all the way down to somewhere you can get onto the Ohio River. And I think maybe make it all the way to St. Louis.
Cool.
Something. It's what I.
It's a lot more paddling than I want to do.
Or maybe you know what? I take that back. I think you can make it all the way to. Maybe that's where the Mississippi comes through, is St. Louis. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So you can make it all the way to through the Mississippi. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
So fun stuff.
Just hope it's not too cold when you go. Real wintertime up there.
We're gonna freeze our ass off.
Yep,
That's for sure.
That's okay.
Take a pocket warmer.
We'll be okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna sit in a Bronco. I don't know.
Man, brother.
Actually, the weather is supposed to be in around 30 degrees, 30 some degrees. So
It could be worse. Yeah, that could be worse.
Being the Californian that I am, man, 30 degrees sounds so good right now. Like 30 degrees doesn't even sound that cold to me anymore. Like I remember years ago, I was busking, just playing my guitar out in front of a Walmart, and I was like, "It's 50 degrees. My fingers are getting cold against the strings. It's what it." I was like, "Dude, that's like not even cold to me." And it's like 50 degrees. That's not cold, you stupid Californians.
Yeah, so
need
it's got to be the one thing that does happen up there in Chicago, northern Indiana, Illinois, and anywhere around these lakes, because they're wide open. It's kind of like the plains out there in Iowa and stuff, because it's wide open. You get lake effect snow and lake effect weather. So if it's windy out, I mean, it could be 30, it could be 32, relative air temperature, but down in the single digits with wind chill and everything. So we're just going to play it by ear.
I'll be ready, man. I'm gonna wear all of my base layers and merino wool. I got some big old huge wool socks and stuff. So I'll survive, man. I'll be okay.
He's ready to go.
Yeah, boy.
So yeah, that's what I got going on is we're going to be up there for Winterfield Day. And I think we're going to operate as 3 individual 1 Oscar stations. And then we can take it. When we're done for Saturday, my son's got a tournament up there, and that's the reason I'm up there.
Cool.
But when we're done on Saturday, because we all live in Indiana, we can disseminate somewhere else and go operate on Sunday too, and take our log. We don't have to change anything. If we want to go to another POTA park or work out in the parking lot, as long as we maintain that 1 Oscar designator, we can run one contiguous log for Winterfield Day.
Cool.
So
sounds like a lot of fun. I think I'm going to stay at home and stay in the warm. I don't know. I'm actually got to go activate a park for toads, and hopefully I can get that done this weekend. It's a lot going on.
I've already I activated my park for toads like last year.
I tried it 2 weeks ago, and I thought I had to go to a meeting, and it didn't happen, and I got 2 hours before I have to go to a funeral, and it didn't happen. So I got about 5 contacts and had to leave. So
yeah, you guys got to get that stuff done. I got mine done. So
yes, I'm just to tell you what, I'm behind everybody these days. I'm getting there.
Did you spot on the POTA spotting page?
I did.
Did you go to the POTA Facebook?
No, I didn't do Facebook. I should have done Discord. I should have done all these things. I'm like, dude, I just want to talk on the radio.
I'm just do what I did is just hunt other activators. That's
exactly what I should have done. But it was the middle of the day and middle of the week, and it just wasn't that active.
I don't. So I'm going to say this. I don't think it's because I have a YouTube channel, but I think it is because I routinely go out at like 6 o'clock. Generally, I'll go at like 6 o'clock, 6:15, and work through like 7:15, 7:30. So I'll get both days. I try to get up towards 40 meters. So if I want to go back out the next day, I can work 20 meters and not get duplicates and stuff like that. But I
Right.
think it's the consistency because I go out so often. Like the kids are driving me up a wall. I'm out and I go to the park and do a POTA. So I think it's people start looking for you, making sure
Yeah.
that, you get, you suggest to people that they get you in your their ham alert and stuff like that, because there's people that hit me almost as, within a couple minutes of me spotting. Um, so I'm starting to hear the same, people now so frequently that you just hear the voice, you know exactly who it is. You could just hear one letter of their call sign in the pileup and know it's,
Yeah. Know who it is.
know it's them, and you could just, rip the call sign out and get it in there. So I'm usually, anywhere from 50 to 100 contacts regularly now from doing that. So yeah, I like, Alan, you were talking about the 705 with the 10 watts. Dude, I have no problems doing voice activations with 10 watts. I think, because like I said, I'm kind of sticking to that pattern. I've got these times and I think people are looking for it. I haven't actually tried it where I haven't been able to spot. I haven't gotten it that crazy, but I'm sure when you and I hike up that soda summit, there'll be no internet up there.
Yeah, being limited to 10 watts is more of a challenge. It's also more fun, but also just the fact that it makes everything more portable. Hey, I did a 5-watt activation once. I've done that, but sometimes I usually, if I'm doing QRP, I do 10, but I've done 5 watts one time with the vertical on the back of my car. I got the park activated. 5 watts. A challenge accepted, Jeff.
It can be. I mean, I did it for a year and a half almost.
Yeah.
And then I went up to 20 watts because I just wanted more power.
Yeah.
5 watts can be a challenge when it's bad band conditions.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good situation for FT8 when you get through.
Yeah.
But doing it SSB, it is a challenge. And you see, I do like 13, 11, maybe 15, 16 contacts at 5 watts. It's like, I don't have all day to sit out in the park and try to make these contacts in those kind of conditions. I get my contacts. I might make a few more and I'm gone. That's 5 watts. I mean, some people still have jobs and other responsibilities and don't have others to help them out. So I do what I can, and it's amazing. I'm starting to see it now from when I was at 5 watts and doing activations, and when now I'm back at 100 watts again and doing activations. It's a lot different. It could be also the band conditions and the amount of power I'm pushing out could be causing that too. I don't know. But I've noticed there's a difference with making contacts.
I definitely think that having a backup like FT8 in when you have poor band conditions, especially if you're running QRP, right? So if you are 5-10 watts, 10 watts with a external battery, then definitely the having that backup there, because I hate nothing worse than not, and I don't want to say having a successful activation. I hate not having a lot of contacts. We'll say that, because anytime you're out, it's a good activation. Anytime you're out of the house and enjoying the park, but definitely having that fallback. The only thing I haven't been able to do with the 705 is to do an AM activation. You're generally with the ICOMs, you're running only about 25% of peak power than what you can with sideband. So 2.5 watts AM, that's not not pushing a whole lot there.
Yeah.
Not saying it can't be done, just might have to be really tight tight 40-meter invis or something like that. So,
Yep.
but well, I think it's probably time to wrap it up.
Yep.
Probably wouldn't hurt. I'm ready
Yeah.
to go to bed. My own self. We're down to 9 folks, so we're
Yeah.
boring everybody. To
Well,
death.
and
Our banter.
Freddie Mac's 2 hours behind us, and he's ready to go to bed already.
It's been a long day for me, dude. Been a long day.
Yeah.
Days off are harder work than working days. So, Alan, it's good to see you. Good to
You
meet you.
too, guys. Thanks for having me, everybody, and looking forward to doing some more streams. I got some more gear I should get set up at some point. I'm on my phone here, but yeah, this was a ton of fun. Thanks for having me, you guys.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in tonight. Thank everybody for hanging out with us at the Ham Radio Kids table. I think next week I'm talking with Mike right now into MAK about coming in to the Ham Radio Kids table next week and talk about his experiences doing the VHF contest. And if anybody caught the pictures on social media of his Subaru and the 18 antennas that he had flying, it should
I saw that
real.
last night. I saw that about his ex, man. He's like, I have a problem. I'm like, no, Houston, you ain't got no problem, man. Good job.
So
right.
make sure you subscribe to the channel. So you know when we're going to be doing that. And everybody have a good night, and we will talk to you soon.